Well, one of the things that we are very supportive of here at the Aussie Wire are conferences. And many people say, well, what's the point of a conference? It's just a talk fest, a whole bunch of people getting together. Well, those of you that have been following the Aussie Wire, you'll already know my answer to that is getting like-minded people into the same room where they can reignite the passion and sharpen the sword, so to speak, of intellectual rigor between each other is always a very good thing. And I love going there because I get to interview really, really interesting people and bring those interviews to you here on the Aussie Wire. So on that front, we've actually got a really good couple of weekends coming up, and I wanted to talk to Dave Pellowe, who is responsible for the existence of the Church and State Conference, about what he's doing and also about what we're doing. To decrypt that little nugget, here is Dave Pellowe from Church and State. Dave, how are you?
Very well, thank you, Topher. Thanks for having me on. It's an excellent note and thought. And, I actually had an engagement with somebody on Facebook recently who highlights the reason why we need these conferences. There's lots of people who've been woken up over the last 3-4 years, and there's a whole lot of people who are barking furiously, just wanting to be let off the chain like dogs, but they're not actually biting anything or making any progress. There's not a lot of effectivism going on. There's lots of activism going on. But what we actually want to change is culture. And in this engagement, I was advocating for Norco to be put back on the shelves by Woolworth supermarkets, wanting to fight globalism and the price gouging and promoting Australian-owned stuff. And this person raised as a tangent and a red herring some of the things that Norco is investing in. They're wanting to diversify their income, and they're getting into making ultimately synthetic milk.
Right.
Now, this sounds a bit like the globalism agenda to replace dairy farms, and sure, that's the market that they're appealing to. But we can't fight both of those battles at the same time. And this person's just going off the deep end and really undermining and attacking the opportunity to promote Australian dairy farmers who are the shareholders of Norco. And so what I'm wanting people to do is actually calm down and be a bit sober and wise, and as the Bible says, to be cunning as serpents in the way we attack things, and not just spraying like a machine gun at every good idea that comes through our mind. Because that is what an echo chamber is. We're only then talking to people who already agree with us. We actually have to be persuasive. And to do that, we have to pick our battles, pick our timing, and not be unbalanced, overheated, like a drunkard. We actually need to be sober and persuasive in what we do. So these conferences, yes, they're a bit of preaching to the choir, but the choir needs preaching. Everybody needs encouragement. You're not alone in this. You do have like-minded people who are with you. But at the same time, it's not true that everybody knows everything already. And so, the humility we need instead of right-wing virtue signaling is to actually get into a room and get under the teaching of people who are studied and specialized and focused and devote a whole lot of their lives to being teachers in various fields. Now, you can eat the fish and spit out the bones, but if we don't go to these conferences, if we don't watch content such as what you're making, then we're actually just going to be feathering our own kind of echo chamber. And so it's actually important to come to learn at these channels like yours and conferences that we're both doing as well.
Well, I've been saying for quite some time that you get the government you deserve, which means that if we want a better government, we have to become better people. And these conferences, for me, really are about that. They're about people, as you say, walking into the room and saying, you know what, I don't know everything. And I'm not necessarily going to agree with everything that I hear and everything that I get told, but I am at least going to challenge my thinking and allow that to sharpen my thinking. Even if it doesn't necessarily change my thinking, it still sharpens it by challenging the status quo inside your own mind. Tell me a little bit about the Church and State Conference. You've got the CAS 24 coming up, which is the 7th annual Australian Church and State Summit. This is kind of the big one as far as Church and State is concerned, but you've also held conferences besides the summit all over Australia. Tell us about it.
Correct. So we've been doing it in Brisbane for a while, and it was always meant to be an Australian conference, a summit, and that's what we call the Brisbane one, the summit, because it's not just focused on Queensland issues. But we also do, we're basically adding one state per year as we go on. This will be the 7th summit in Brisbane, but this year we'll be in Perth for the 3rd time. We'll be in Adelaide. Sorry, we'll be in Adelaide for the third time, Perth for the second time, and Tasmania, Hobart and Launceston for the first time, as well as combining with you in Albury. There's been a lot of Victorians and New South Welshmen who have wanted the church and state franchise, for want of a better term, the ministry, to come to those states. And it just really takes a good invitation that will help facilitate and make it affordable. Otherwise, there's a lot of overheads, and you know that, but people watching may not know. They say, why don't we meet in a park? And well, because Qantas doesn't take goodwill. Hotels don't take goodwill. And there's more than the venue to try and save money on. That's right. Those invitations and local partners will help us each grow as we go. Now the summit's coming up is the pinnacle event, and it's going to be broadcast
this weekend.
That's right. It's just days away now. There's not many catering tickets left. We've had to close off those numbers. We guesstimated we could sell a few more than we already sold, but after that, you can buy a BYO ticket, whereas you'll have to pop out to Macca's during the lunch break. But great conference. We've got 30 speakers over 24 segments, which is 6 sessions across 2 days. Major themes that we're going to be focusing on include the Middle East conflict, prostitution, which is something being completely decriminalized, to the great harm of people around Australia, as well as education. Education is a massive front that we need to take control of and leadership of, at least in our own families, if we want to take back this Australian culture. And that is exactly how we lost it, by ceding education and the major institutions along with it to the Marxist left.
Well, the full program for the Brisbane Summit is on your website, churchandstate.com.au. I will be there. I'm speaking on the Saturday, but I'll be there for the entire program. I look forward to listening, and I'm going to take the opportunity, of course, to do some interviews with some of these incredible speakers that you've gathered from around Australia and even from outside of Australia. A little tip, if you want to know who that is, you're going to have to go to the website, churchandstate.com.au, and have a look at the program. And then literally only a week after you have your summit, you've actually aided in bringing Church and State to Albury alongside the Friedman Conference and the inaugural Big Ideas for a Better Australia Conference. The Aussie Wire are proudly involved. I'm actually going to be the MC for all 3 days. And this is it's a one-day Church and State conference on the Saturday, wedged in between the Friedman Conference and this Big Ideas for a Better Australia. First time in Albury, but it's not quite the first time in a regional centre, is it, Dave? You've been to other regional centres with Church and State previously.
Yeah, look, I love the regional invitations. Coffs Harbour, Dalby, Gympie. There's a few in Brisbane, in Queensland, because it's a shorter drive for me. Coffs Harbour was a really great one, and anywhere people want us to come. Some of the country towns that we've brought speakers to are actually some of the best ones, I find, because, there's 120 people in a small church, and all the ladies have cooked and catered, and there's no charge for the venue, and we can literally do the conference for free because the donations and the free will offerings cover our overheads to get a couple of speakers there, etc. And so they're actually really rewarding, and I was born in Redcliffe, but I was spent most of my childhood in country Australia, and it's the part that I love to get back to as much as possible. So getting to the regions is an opportunity that I will look for any way to make possible. Later this year, we're going to be doing a pre-election tour of Queensland, myself and the Queensland State Director of the Australian Christian Lobby, and we'll be going to marginal seats that have the opportunity to make the biggest difference in the state election, and literally holding education seminars on why God says your involvement in the public square is not just a good idea, but an indispensable idea. It's part of the Great Commission to make disciples of nations and to teach them what he taught us, and to then illuminate and bring revelation and light to the public square, and rebuke injustice and intervene wherever we can, where there's oppression. Now, this isn't something that is well taught in a lot of churches, and so we're going to spend a little bit of time getting people's theology adjusted to the Word of God, and then we're going to be speaking about the really important issues. But that's going to be a regional tour. So really looking forward to that, and really excited about your initiative to bring these 3 conferences to Albury in one weekend.
Yeah, well, it's something that's been discussed for a very long time, and it suddenly came together, and I'm thrilled to have had enough sway to have been able to bring it to Albury. It's a part of the world that's very close to my heart. I would just want to mention here, we've got the Friedman Friday, and that's a half day that runs from about lunchtime when we start the conference through into the evening. And on that evening, we've got VIP drinks for those that are VIP ticket holders and you want to spend some time hanging out with the speakers that have been flown in from all over Australia. Then we have Church and State Sunday. This is the big day of the conference. It's the biggest single day. It's absolutely packed. We've got some phenomenal speakers, including Pastor Matthew Littlefield, a co-author of the Ezekiel Declaration, and so many other fantastic people. Also a guy called Dave Pellowe. I guess you've got to take the good with the bad as well there, Dave. But then in the evening of the Saturday, we have the Net Zero launch at the gala dinner. That's going to be an absolute hoot. So much fun. You're going to see Senator Malcolm Roberts and Senator Ralph Babette as you've never seen them before. I promise you that. We're going to have tremendous fun. We have some special guests, and there might even be one Donald Trump stopping by, and possibly even a Klaus Schwab dialing in. Now, whether they're the real deal or whether they're an AI deep fake, of course, I can neither confirm nor deny, but it's going to be a tremendously fun night. I promise you that. And then finally on the Sunday, I'm super excited about the big ideas for a better Australia, because I believe, and I know you do too, Dave, that we have not peaked. The best is yet to come. And that's really what that Big Ideas Sunday is all about. Well, Dave Pellowe, I want to say thank you to you for creating the Church and State Conference, and then for partnering with the Aussie Wire, with Friedman, and with Big Ideas to be able to bring that to Albury. I'm looking forward to being at the summit this weekend. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing you in Albury a weekend after that. So churchandstate.com.au for tickets to the summit in Brisbane, and tripleconference.com for tickets to the Triple Conference in Albury. We'll put those links in the description. Dave Pellowe, thank you so much for joining us here on the Aussie Wire.
Looking forward to seeing you soon, Topher. Thank you.
Cheers.